Summer. I'm doing an interview today with Vanessa Warwick, and I'm here today to talk to her about her estate agency life. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello, Summer. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's lovely to talk to you. You came onto Property Tribes, which is the forum that I co-founded with my husband, Nick. And you were asking for information about how to start off in estate agency. And I believe you're only 15 years old. So right off the bat, I want to commend you for wanting to learn and thinking about your financial future. I think it's so inspiring.
Thank you, Vanessa. So, whenever you were 15, what did you do? Because I was really curious as how you started your life at around 15 years old.
Well, I can tell you that when I was 15, I was not as well composed and as forward thinking as you are, Summer. When I was 15, I was very shy. I wouldn't say boo to a goose. I know it's hard to believe now. That was my kind of exterior. But on the inside, I felt that I knew that I had a purpose in life and I wanted to go out into the big wide world and discover it. But I like most people, I didn't really know what it was. So when I finished my O-levels, my parents suggested that I should do a secretarial course because they said that secretarial skills would always be in demand. And I thought that was good advice. So I did 3 A-levels and I did a secretarial course. And when I left college, because I went to Guildford College, and then I kind of thought I want to go into the big wide world. So I moved from Guildford to London and I started out in secretarial work in London. And then one day I got a 1-day job filing at MTV Music Television. And that changed my life because I ended up being a television presenter there for 10 years. And all of it came about from just 1 day of temporary work. So it's quite an incredible story, really.
So, whenever you were doing the MTV, did you have like a plan to be a landlord in the future, or did you plan to stay at that?
I had no plan at all about being a landlord. Do you know what? I was pretty financially illiterate, if I'm honest. I didn't even know what mortgage rate I had on my flat in London. I was very immersed in the music scene. I was traveling all over the world, interviewing and filming with bands. I had an amazing life. I had a hairstylist and a makeup artist and a wardrobe allowance, and I would go shopping in Vivienne Westwood with my stylist, and it was just an unbelievable life. And when you're in that kind of existence, you're very in the moment. I was so lucky. I was enjoying everything so much that I actually didn't think about the future, and that did come back to bite me later on, if I'm honest. I actually became an accidental landlord initially because I had a flat in London and I wanted to sell it and move somewhere bigger. And I found out that it had a defective lease and I couldn't sell it. So I ended up renting it out to my friends in the music industry rather than selling it because I couldn't sell it. So I became an accidental landlord in 1992, but it was only really when I met my husband Nick in 2002, so 20 years later, that Nick kind of was the catalyst, I think, for us thinking about how we were going to create a lifestyle that we really wanted to live, because we're both very outdoors kind of people. We love traveling, we love being in the great outdoors, and we wanted to create a lifestyle where we could be outdoors doing things and having adventures as much as possible. So that was the real catalyst behind actually starting to build a portfolio in 2004.
That's a really good story, actually. I wasn't expecting that. So whenever you're renting out your apartment to your friends and colleagues, is that what got you interested in the houses, or was it going around the houses or something completely different?
I didn't pay too much attention when I was renting out my flat in London to my music friends, although some of them didn't pay the rent. So that was an issue, and all landlords face that risk. So that's nothing specific to me. I think I became a lot more interested in property because it's strange, but I love how space is used. I'm a big fan of, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube that give you tours of yachts and motorboats and motorhomes. I just love seeing how space is used. And I think when I was kind of starting my investment career, I just really loved being able to go and look at properties, thinking how tenants would use them, and finding properties that I felt had longevity in the market, and really thinking about buying quality properties. One of my properties was designed by the fashion designer Red or Dead. It's a really amazing 3-story townhouse with really unique design features. So I think, to answer your question, really, I actually do genuinely love design, but I also love what property can achieve for you. And it is something that the ordinary man on the street can get involved with. It's relatively easy to understand. Many people have bought their own homes, so they understand the legal process. It's an investment that many people can get involved with. And I think for me, I didn't like stocks and shares. I didn't like other types of investment. Property just seemed really straightforward to me, and relatively simple. And you're providing a roof over somebody's head as well.
Yeah, it's great being able to see the different versions of houses and the different styles and all the different ways houses can be built up in so many different ways, because you'll never see one that is the exact same. There'll always be one little thing that's different, or thousands of things that are different about it, which is absolutely great about them. So I was just curious, for Property Tribes, how did you actually become the co-founder of it?
Well, luckily, I'm married to the person that started it. It's just a well-told story. Back in 2009, the social web was in its infancy. There were a few very rudimentary forums around, but they were kind of what I would say like the Wild West. They had no terms and conditions. You could go on there, and if somebody didn't like what you said, you'd get real flaming going on. It wasn't a very professional environment, and I regard being a landlord as a professional activity. So one day I went to my husband Nick and I said, I need somewhere to talk to my property friends where it's professional, and it's a nice environment to be in. And he said, well, tell you what, I'll set you up on a free platform, a free forum commenting software, and then you can chat away to your heart's content. And so he did that, and we invited along about 30-40 of my property friends who all started talking, and I started writing articles and things like that. And then a couple of years later, we looked and we had over 10,000 members. And we were like, wow, what is this? And we knew we had something, but we didn't quite know what it was at that point. So it's been a very organic journey of just people joining because they want to learn and grow their property business, and they like the environment, which is a very professional environment, as I hope you've experienced yourself, Summer. You got a lot of support from the community, didn't you?
Yeah, the community is really helpful, and they are all really caring and generous and are really good at giving out information, actually. So whenever you were doing the MTV to being a landlord to being the co-founder, how did you get from each section to where you are now? And did it take years to get there, or did it just kind of happen?
No, it took years. One of my favorite little quips is I went from rock and roll to bricks and mortar. And, my people that knew me as a TV presenter on MTV, they often message me on social media and say, oh my God, how did you go from interviewing Marilyn Manson to interviewing, the property ombudsman scheme leader and things like that? Because obviously it's just a completely different world. So it did take a long time. There were pitfalls along the way, mistakes were made. It's just been a very kind of natural process, and it almost feels like very different compartmentalized stages of my life. And when we started Property Tribes, my husband Nick said, you know, you've got presenter skills, we should start a YouTube channel. And this again was in the infancy of YouTube, and I was a little bit reticent, and I said, no, I just don't feel like doing that. I just don't think I'm an appropriate person for that because of my kind of rock and roll heritage. But Nick said, no, you are an appropriate person for that. And eventually he persuaded me to start our YouTube channel, which we're obviously doing now. And people have found it a very, very good resource. And I think because I've had so much landlord experience, I can be a good communicator about landlord issues.
Yeah, because personally, whenever I've been looking for information about houses, I usually go to websites or YouTube to find this information. And you've actually been a great help for that, especially your website, which has helped a lot with my questions and queries about houses and what I could do to help myself there. So, if you could go back in time right now, would there be any advice you would give your younger self?
I think the advice I would give would be more like Summer, because you're 15 years old, you're already thinking about your future. You want to map out a route of how to get there. I think that's such an admirable and important thing to do, because if you don't know your destination, you can't plan a route there. When I was your age, I didn't have a destination because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I hadn't found anything that particularly floated my boat. And I think it's so important to do something that you feel really passionate about, that really makes you excited, makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. I hadn't really found that because I'd lived quite a sheltered existence. I've been in a boarding school for a lot of my teenage years and so on. So I had a lot of exploring to do and go out into the big wide world and find myself as a human being outside of school and family and so on. And that's a journey that every teenager has to go on. Well, it's healthy for them to go on that journey. So I think if I went back to when I was your age, I would say to me, life goes past so quickly. I'm 59 now, and I can remember my 21st birthday like it was yesterday, and those years have just gone like that. So I think, work out what really you feel passionate about, see how you can create a role in life around that, and adding value to other people's lives, or it may be you want to add value to animals' lives, but do something in service to others. And if you can do that and enjoy it and map out a way to achieve what you want to achieve through doing that, then that would be the advice I would give now.
That's really good advice because personally, I am 15 myself. So right now, whenever I'm going for that thing that I'm going for, estate agencies and estate agent work and working with houses and people, I've had a really good time doing all that and meeting all the different kinds of people and seeing all the different houses and just exploring really. It's been a lot of fun and I would recommend it to anyone my age or even people older than me. I would give that advice to anyone who needs that boost to get there because it's a lot of fun and I would really recommend it. So, what advice would you give to anyone my age to finish this off?
Well, I think, follow Summer's example would be my advice. You've been out into the world, you've been and helped out in estate agencies during your holidays. You've come online and you've reached out for help. And I think if you do reach out for help, you will be amazed at what comes back to you. There are people out there that want to encourage and support young people, who want to help others. I know I do. I regard it as a privilege if I can help somebody else and they allow me to help them. That means so much to me. And you've done all the right things for a young person to actually go out there, start doing it, start making connections, start building a network, start learning, start growing. And all of these things are going to stand you in very, very very good stead as you proceed into your adult life. They are things that can never be taken away from you. Even if you lost your job in the future, you would still have your knowledge, your connections, your friends. You're putting down foundations for the future. And it's so gratifying to me to see a young person doing that, because you're going to have so many more years to enjoy the benefits of all your hard work now and your dedication now, because most young people your age are probably thinking about, going down to the shopping mall or whatever. They're not thinking about what can I do to prepare myself for adult life. So I think you putting in those foundations now is very, very inspirational to other young people, and I hope they follow your lead.
Thank you, Vanessa. That means a lot. I'm glad you see it that way, and I'm glad you were able to give that advice out to others. Thank you for doing this interview with me today. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Well, thank you very much for choosing Property Tribes to come on and share your journey with people. As I say, as soon as I read your story, I thought, well, what a wonderful young lady. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. And I'm sure with the attitude that you have, you're going to be very successful, because there's that very famous saying, it's not your aptitude, but your attitude that determines your altitude. And I think you are going to fly high, Summer.
Thank you, Vanessa.
All right, all the best. Keep us posted how you're going.
Will do.